Nyah! You thought you were going to be watching the player versus Ratchet and Clank, but this is I, Combo Breaker! Although you probably already know this gag by now, so I guess it was kind of pointless. I guess stupid gags aside, I'm here to plug my Discord, as per usual. There will be a link to it in the description. I suggest you go check it out. You can go in there and submit fan art, suggest ideas, and talk to me, help with research. It's just a lot of fun in there. I hope to see you in there, and let's move on to the episode.
Step inside my twisted world, where heroes will collide. Villains are the only evil, there are no fucking sides. Every match will test their stats, every loss and win are weighed. Any chance they thought they had could all end up in vain on Combo Breaker.
In video games, there are typically two types of archetypes when it comes to combat. Those big, powerful brutes who focus on up-close melee combos, or the connection of today's two fighters, the far-ranged, agile warriors. And as I literally just said, today's combatants are excellent at maneuvering around the battlefield and shooting more projectiles than anyone could possibly fucking dodge. I'm looking at you, Belmonts! Anyway, I'm of course talking about Ratchet and Clank, PlayStation's dynamic duo of destruction, and the player, the parkour protector of Sunset City. Unpopular opinion time! I really like the Ratchet and Clank movie. Now put down your fucking pitchforks and your torches, and let me explain. Yes, I know it's the exact same as the reboot game that came out the same year. And yes, I understand all the jokes and all the plot points were the exact fucking same. But I still love the movie and I love the game. They were funny, they were well animated, and they were clever. Honestly, I fucking loved it, and I don't understand why everybody disliked it so much. Either way, I don't think you guys give two fucks about my opinions on 3-year-old movies. At least I don't think you do. Otherwise, I've devoted this entire channel to the wrong thing. Oh god, I better start writing my Ratchet and Clank review. Midlife channel crisis aside though, let's cover Ratchet and Clank and their weapons and abilities. So Clank actually has the ability to manipulate time, for some fucking reason. Yeah, with the use of some bombs and his staff, he can freeze time temporarily, and obviously Clank himself is immune to it. It would really suck if he wasn't immune to it, because then activating that power once would just fuck all of reality. Literally no one would be able to move again, thus the universe would be locked in an infinite limbo. Oh god, I can feel my brain hurting from just thinking about how that would even fucking work. Oh god. But when Clank isn't fucking with the space-time continuum, he can ride on Ratchet's back, essentially making himself a nifty little backpack that doubles as a fucking jetpack and hover pack. Man, where's that shit when I go to college? Make the commute so much more fun. Not to mention I'd be that guy flying around with a little robot making wise-ass remarks while I fly to my next class. Oh, that'd be so cool. As for Ratchet, he doesn't really have any powers of his own. Instead, his strength lies in what's up his arsenal. I'm gonna go ahead and move on so no one starts sending me Rule 34 shit for Ratchet. Oh god. So Ratchet's standard melee weapon is his Omni Wrench. He can use this to clobber foes in close range or throw it like a fucking boomerang. Because if Mario has taught me anything, it's that construction tools make the best melee weapons. But Ratchet's true strength lies in his guns, and just like Doom Guy, he's got a shit ton of them. He has his combustor pistol, a small semi-automatic handgun that shoots fucking fireballs like some sort of low-level wizard in an RPG game. He also has a bouncing buzzsaw launcher that's not only my favorite weapon, but it's also incredibly badass and is pretty damn self-explanatory. Ratchet also carries several rocket launchers like the Warmonger that can fire multiple rockets in quick succession. Or he has a lock-on rocket launcher where missiles deploy out of the gun, hover in place before locking onto an opponent and blowing their face straight to hell. There's just one problem with this gun. How the fuck are these missiles floating in the fucking air? They're rocket propelled from the back end. They couldn't possibly fucking float. There's a reason helicopters can float, but planes can't. How the fuck are these things floating? But if Ratchet needs to cover his ass in a fight, he can always deploy a Mr. Zircon, a small robot that floats around and shoots bad guys while making really bad one-liners. Kinda like a 90s action star. Or he can always throw down some small turrets to lock on and shoot his opponents in the fucking face, as turrets often do. But if Ratchet needs a nice distraction, he can throw down his Groovatron, which is a small disco ball that spins around in the air and plays music, forcing all opponents to dance. You see, disco may be dead, but it's not nearly as dead as a poor bastard caught in the area of effect of this weapon. Ratchet also wields an electric whip for some kinky bedroom stuff, a sniper rifle harpoon crossbow thing for some MLG 360 no-scopes, a grenade glove for blowing shit up, a high-powered vacuum for giving only the finest of sucks, a flamethrower for burning shit, and like a million other fucking guns. But there are two more guns I need to mention before moving on. I present to you the stupidest weapon in fictional history, the Sheepinator. This absolute beast of a weapon is a long-range beam cannon that can fire continuous blasts. If you're being hit with this blast for too long, you'll get turned into a fucking defenseless sheep. Man, I love Ratchet and Clank games. Their weapons are so absurd and original. There definitely isn't another shooter game with an attack that turns people into sheep. Overwatch colons aside, the other gun in his arsenal I wanted to mention was the Rhino, or rip you a new one. And not since the BFG has a gun been more accurately named. The Rhino will quite literally rip your opponent a new asshole, because this weapon is a badass combination of a shotgun, minigun, rocket launcher, and piano. Not only does this gun fill you with bullet holes, but it does it to classical music. I mean, honestly, Ratchet only kicks your ass in the classiest of ways, just like Dudley from Street Fighter. But by far one of the best tools in Ratchet's arsenal is his Infernox armor. This suit grants Ratchet heavy resistance to all incoming damage. Like, dear god is this suit ridiculously OP. The suit actually has in-game stats that make you only take 20% of the total damage that you would normally be dealt, which is just stupidly overpowered. Ratchet also has his nanotech that he can use to patch up his wounds. Unfortunately, he only has a limited amount of this, but still it's a nice way to keep himself alive in the heat of battle. But if Ratchet needs some more maneuverability options to get around that battlefield pretty quickly, he can use his grind boots to grind across rails at insane speeds, or use his swing shot to grab onto things and swing across gaps. Alright, finally on to feats. And Ratchet's actually quite impressive in terms of strength. He can easily destroy robots with his wrench. He's taken down several monsters and robots the size of buildings, and on top of this he's managed to defeat Dr. Nefarious on more than one occasion. Hell, he even has some guns that have been said to deliver a megaton of force, and the Rhino is a weapon that's been banned across the universe. Considering his other weapons have the ability to unload a megaton, just imagine how powerful the Rhino is if it got banned universally. Just for a frame of reference, a standard nuclear warhead delivers about 1.2 megatons of fucking force. God, those are powerful guns, aren't they? It's like a mini nuclear explosion every time you shoot someone. Now, when it comes to speed, both Ratchet and Clank are fast enough to dodge speeding missiles, fireballs. Hell, they both manage to dodge close-range laser fire coming from several different directions all at once, which is incredibly fast. Ratchet's also tough enough to survive a shuttle crash that ended in an explosion. He's also survived a laser shot and a hit from large robots and beasts. On top of this, we've seen Ratchet easily survive blasts from the same guns that he uses in several boss fights, like against Captain Quirk or pretty much every boss fight in the Up Your Arsenal game. On top of all these impressive feats, Ratchet and Clank are super skilled in close range and far range combat. Hell, Ratchet can pick up and use just about any gun he finds. But all that being said, Ratchet and Clank are far from perfect. When Clank manipulates time, only he can move, and Ratchet actually is completely stuck in time. And as for Ratchet, he's got limited ammo and heavily relies on his ridiculous arsenal. Either way, you can be damn sure that Ratchet and Clank will smash some boxes and beat some ass.
My name's Ratchet. Up and down. Yeah, there you go. You're a natural.
Sunset Overdrive. This game is so fucking great. I mean, you play as a loser who's down on their luck and stuck in a shitty dead-end job. That is until a special energy drink called Overdrive was released into Sunset City. And while I think energy drinks taste like cat piss, turns out the people of Sunset City love this shit, and they drank a lot of it. There's just one problem with that. Overcharge had one minor side effect. That is, turning people into horrifying mutants. Just look! So yeah, some comic book style onomatopoeias, dick jokes, and some parkour later, our hero is on a quest to get the actual fuck out of the city. Would you want to be stuck in here with all these things? Look how many there are! They're everywhere! God, I'd want to get out of the city too! Now before I actually start talking about weapons and all that, I actually have a quick side note I should probably mention. The player can either be a boy or a girl, but I played as a chick, so for the purpose of this analysis, the player is a female. Get it? Got it? Good. Alright, let's go. The player wields a melee weapon she can use to club the absolute shit out of any opponent with. While she can be just about anything, like a baseball bat, a lightsaber, a sword, foam sword, it's primarily a crowbar. However, the player focuses more on guns, and dear god does she have a metric fuck ton of guns to use for absolute mass destruction and death. Now, due to the sheer size of what the player is packing— oh shit, that didn't sound right! Due to the sheer size of her arsenal, I have to do a pretty quick rundown on her guns, but I'll make sure to touch on some important ones, such as the Flaming Compensator. This incredibly phallic gun busts a nut of gasoline and nitroglycerin in the face of any enemy. Or, in other words, short-range fire shotgun, but with fire instead of lead. Yeah, I know that's far more boring, but I figured I should use that. I figured I should explain it better for anybody who didn't understand the analogy. She also has high fidelity and nothing but hits, both of which are rapid-fire record launchers that ricochet around the battlefield, with the only difference is being damage output and fire rate. So really there's no reason for both to exist, but they do! The player also has the Dirty Harry hand cannon, the Field of Burn flamethrower, the AKFU assault rifle, the Shorty Shotty sawed-off shotgun, the Fisco laser assault rifle, and the Charger laser cannon. But if she needs a physical weapon that's simply a cut above all of those, she can also pull out the Fizco DSRC orbital fucking laser. This thing is essentially a laser pointer of doom, as all you have to do is keep the gun pointed at an enemy, and after a few seconds, a big-ass space laser comes down and turns the opponent to nothing but ash. Wait a fucking second, that's just the Hammer of Dawn from Gears of War. Oh, you fucking cheapskates, you can't even come up with your own fucking ideas, you bastard! She also has the ultra-powerful TN Teddy. This gun launches out a teddy bear with a TNT strapped to it, causing an explosion that's both strong enough to wipe out your enemies with ease, and so soft you just want to hug the damn thing. Although I wouldn't, because you'd have to get really close to the explosion and then you'd be kind of fucking incinerated, but hey, it's still badass. She also has several grenade launchers such as freeze bombs, proximity mines, and pulse mines. All these create AoEs that damage or freeze opponents solid. She also has the Shocker, which is a lightning gun that strings between enemies like Sonic in the Casino Zone, but it electrocutes every enemy rather than building up pointless points. She can also use the Taunt Bot to distract foes with a hologram that's a bigger asshole than the average YouTube commenter. The player also wields the Acid Sprinkler that she can launch out to burn foes with the efficiency of the best girl in My Hero Academia. Or if she needs to cover her ass, she can use the Swarm of Nanobots, or tiny flying RC helicopters with guns taped to them. Wait a second, how the fuck are they pulling the triggers? Who the hell's controlling these helicopters? She clearly isn't. Who, why, what the Anyway, the player also wields the Captain Ahab Harpoon gun. Upon impact, this thing bursts out with overcharge. So not only do you get impaled, but you get covered in gross and sticky energy drink. Which, let's be honest, that's the worst part of being impaled by this weapon. Not the actual impalement. She also has the Dude, a chargeable bowling ball launcher that not only increases its power as you charge it, but if you're hit by a fully charged blast, the bowling ball fucking explodes. How? Why? The game never explains why, and neither will I. So let's move on to my two favorite weapons in the game. One of which is the Roman Candle, a rapid-fire firework launcher used to kill everything in a general direction. Or my other favorite, the One-Handed Dragon, which is a semi-automatic firework launcher that explodes on contact and lights your enemies on fucking fire. You know, as fireworks do. The player also has the Hairspray Bomb launcher that causes a big AoE of dangerous explosions that can also fix your hair. That is, if you can survive the explosion and don't fucking die. She also has the Murderang, which is a metal boomerang launcher, the rivet gun that shoots electric rivets, and the Headbanger, which literally launches out heads. Which is just... that's somehow more disgusting than the literal dick-shaped fire shotgun. Anyway, she also has a legendary weapon in her arsenal, a literal nuclear sword called Excalibur. And for just 20 payments at $59.99, you can get a hold of this titanium sword, forged in a nuclear power plant with the ability to shoot fireballs and fucking lightning bolts. You can also steal the souls of your enemies, including robots, and when you steal their soul, you get healed. Sadly, by the end of that mission, she got the sword, well, neutered. It's incredibly likely she could just re-empower the sword by, just saying that it can, as she gained the soul-stealing ability by saying, yeah, it can do that now. Oh, no, I'm not fucking joking, that's just why it can steal souls. Now, in case all those weapons simply weren't enough for some fucking reason, she also used her amps to improve her weapons, and herself. And these amps can do some truly crazy shit. The player can have 2 hero amps, 1 melee amp, 1 epic amp, and 1 amp per gun all equipped at once. And these amps can do some crazy shit. And all these amps are activated by and stay active as long as the player keeps up her style, and to do that she needs to kill and parkour around the battlefield. So now on to what these amps can do, and they can do some pretty crazy shit. Now to save time, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the arsenal. There's several weapon amps that she can attach to each of her guns, such as making her bullets have a chance to stun, freeze, or burn her opponents. Or she can also equip an amp that makes her bullets have a chance to turn opponents against each other. What the fuck would make you kill your friends? Actually, you know what? I would probably kill my friends for the last piece of pizza. Scratch that. I would definitely kill my friends for the last slice of pizza. Yeah, anyway, if that's not good enough for some reason, she also has the Don't Fear the Reaper amp. Upon killing an enemy, there's a chance the literal Grim Reaper will appear and kill another enemy. I wonder if there's a Billy and Mandy amp to go along with it. Well, if you'd prefer other options, how about upon death the enemy drops a TN Teddy, or spawns a fucking mini nuclear explosion? Or how about sending out a bunch of piranhas to attack the enemies? God, the potential's limitless with this shit. She also has several melee amps that she can equip to her melee weapons, allowing her to launch fireballs, lightning, or straight up launch tornadoes to knock people straight to Oz. Or how about if she kills an enemy with her melee weapon, they explode? Or how about when she ground pounds, shrapnel appears out of God knows where and launches out in every direction? She also has her hero amps that can do things like cause damage to anyone she barrel rolls into, or knock back anybody who tries to melee attack her. Or how about she gains a boost in strength if she's low on health? Or what if she was in the air and she got stronger? Or, for real hardcore narcissists like the player and myself, she can waste a hero amp slot on the Screw the Fourth Wall amp that literally has an announcer yell out how badass she is. Great job hosting, Combo Breaker! Why, thank you, boys. You're definitely not a narcissistic douchebag. What the fuck, man? You're supposed to talk about how cool I am. Oh, sorry. Great job! Wait, there's even more! She has her epic amps that allow her to do things like cause big explosions when she bounces off of something, or launch out shockwaves when she ground pounds, or my personal favorite one, that has lightning shoot down at all the enemies in the area as if Thor himself was literally pissing on your enemies. That is, as long as you keep your style up. She also has an epic amp that causes pillars of flames to erupt up behind her while she walks, which is super badass and nostalgic because it reminds me of my favorite scenes from the Powerpuff Girls movie. Anyway, she also has an amp that allows her to launch out fire and lightning while grinding on any surface, because fuck logic. And for some reason, if all those amps aren't enough, she can also equip 6 overdrives at a time. Each one of these can increase her stats, but she does have 2 that stand out above the rest. One that gives her a small healing factor, and the other one slowly drains her health while increasing her damage output. Kinda like a mix of Pichu and Lucario. Although I don't think the ultimate tier list would appreciate that character. Anyway, with Arsenal out of the way, let's cover the player's powers, and oh dear god. Here we go. She has fourth wall awareness, and I mean awareness. She has quite literally hit the camera back as well as acknowledged that she's in a video game. She's used her style meter as a fucking weapon, kinda like Deadpool and Marvel vs. Capcom, and on top of that, she's shown her fucking weapon wheel to others. Most impressively is the time she died, the credits started to roll, and she got upset, hell no, that ending is stupid, and then came back to life, fought the real final boss, and then just finished the game. Hell, she actually acknowledges the things that bring her back to life, such as portals, time machines, fucking televisions, because this game cannot chill for 5 fucking seconds. Now the player's going to be parkouring around the city, obviously she's gonna need some pretty cool maneuverability options. Not only can she do your standard barrel rolls, I know, how impressive, she can also grind on almost any surface and consistently increase her speed while grinding. She can also run on walls, glide across the water, and fucking dash through the air. Because god forbid video games have any sort of fucking logic to them. With all these out of the way, we can finally talk feats, and dear god, they are just as ridiculous as her arsenal. She's strong enough to kill OD, and most of her weapons can straight up liquefy these suckers. On top of that, she can kill Herkers and spawners who are the size of buildings, and Herkers have shown they can survive city block-sized explosions. She's also taken down and killed a giant super advanced robotic blimp, she killed Norton the Dragon with her melee weapons alone, and she killed a giant sea monster. But most impressively was the time she killed a giant robot who was going to destroy all of Sunset City in a short period of time. Hell, it even said its previous blimp body was weak sauce. Her strength should scale to her absolutely insane durability. She's fast enough to jump over a fridge in a single jump, as well as dodge machine gun fire, missiles, explosions, lightning, and fucking lasers. Hell, she can traverse the city in just a few minutes just by parkouring. She's also tough enough to survive a free fall off the top of a skyscraper, as well as powerful blasts from robots, fireballs from Norton the Dragon, and even explosions several times the size of a building. But by far her best feat happened when she was forging her sword. You see, while forging that sword in a nuclear fucking power plant, she took a full frontal nuclear blast, point blank, in the face that caused earthquakes that people on the other side of the city could feel. And she was completely fucking unscathed. Plus, the player's also incredibly smart, as she's made a working gun with nothing but a clock, a fire extinguisher, and some TNT and a teddy bear. Plus, there's that time that she was high on cough serum and stuck near dry by leeches and still navigated the city perfectly fine. But most impressively is the fact that she saved all of Sunset City while being nothing but a janitor before all this shit happened. There's just, a couple of problems with the player. For one, she's super overconfident and thinks of herself as an unstoppable badass. On top of that, none of her amps will actually work if she doesn't keep her style up by grinding, bouncing, killing, and doing other parkour. No matter what though, the player is ready to grind, swear, and shoot her way out of every fucking situation. Alright, our combatants are set, but only one console exclusive parkour and shooter can come out on top in a fight to the death. Let's settle this! The player is grinding on a telephone line through the city when she sees a massive explosion in the distance. As the cloud of smoke covers the city block around the explosion site, the player quickly jumps out the telephone line and grabs onto the nearest wall and dashes towards the blast. When she arrives on the scene, she finds Ratchet and Clank standing there holding the warmonger as a giant puddle of overcharge leaks out from a giant monster's body. The player lands on the ground behind Ratchet and pulls out her flaming compensator. Ratchet turns around and sees her holding a gun as he quickly backflips and begins to aim his rocket launcher. The player mumbles under her breath, "Shit!" as Ratchet fires his rocket towards her. As the missile flies through the air, the player jumps onto a nearby car, causing her to bounce into the air onto a power line as the missile blows up behind her. The player starts to grind on the power line as she fires the compensator at Ratchet several times. Ratchet turns to see the blasts of flames coming at him quickly as it hits him in the face, burning him as he stumbles back. The player jumps to the power line onto a tree that launches her high into the air. Ratchet then jumps into the air with Clank boosting him up with a quick rocket burst. The player is flying through the air as Ratchet pulls out his crossbow and zooms in with his scope. The player grabs on the wall and starts to run at Ratchet, shoots her in the leg, knocking her to the ground. Ratchet lands and walks over to the player who's standing up, breathing very heavily. He pulls out the combustor and shoots her in the head with a fireball, but it flies straight through her head as the decoy starts to shake slightly. Ratchet quickly turns around and sees the player slashing his sword down at him. He quickly blocks the blade with his wrench as the two get locked in a clash. Ratchet tries to kick the player, but it causes a small shockwave to launch out, launching Ratchet back against a wall. The player then laughs as she swings her sword several times, launching out fireballs, tornadoes, and bolts of lightning at Ratchet. Ratchet tries to roll out of the way, but the barrage hits him, and the impact demolishes the building behind him, causing it to collapse onto Ratchet. The player then spins her sword around and gets ready to leave, but the blade is shot out of her hand as Mr. Zircon comes floating from the rubble. The player looks at the thing before shooting it with a Roman candle and shoots it out of the air. The explosion causes nothing but scrap metal to fall to the ground. While she's distracted, Ratchet climbs out of the rubble and throws his wrench at her, hitting the player in the stomach, causing her to drop her gun. Ratchet pulls out a long electric whip and swings it at the player, wrapping it around her waist. The player looks at Ratchet in confusion, but the look is short-lived as Ratchet presses a button, causing the whip to electrocute the player. While she's stunned on the ground, Ratchet pulls out his buzzsaw gun and fires several times, cutting the player badly across her body. She stands up heavily injured as her wounds slowly start to heal. The player pulls out a large gun and fires a teddy bear at Ratchet, who catches it and looks at it confused for just a few seconds before it explodes. The explosion starts to fade, leaving a cloud of smoke as the player walks towards her gun on the ground. The smoke clears as Ratchet comes out in full armor and starts to walk towards the player. She quickly grabs her Roman candle, but Ratchet hits her in the head with his wrench, cracking her skull. She collapses on the floor as Ratchet then picks up the player's sword and guns and leaves the city. Our winners are Ratchet and Clank. Man, I really fucking wanted the player to win this. Well, I should probably explain just how fucking close this fight was in terms of stats. When it came to strength and durability, Ratchet and Clank could easily smash robots and kill giant monsters. But most impressively is they had weapons and have taken hits from weapons that could put out up to a megaton of force, meaning they could easily hit about city levels of strength and durability. The player, on the other hand, could easily smash robots and kill large monsters, but most impressively was when she killed a robot who was going to destroy Sunset City and took a direct nuclear blast that caused earthquakes that could be felt on the other side of the city, being completely unharmed by the blast, might I add, which should easily put her at about city levels of strength and durability. So yeah, the player and Ratchet and Clank were about dead even in strength and durability, but what about speed? Well, I'm afraid it's pretty much the exact same story. Both the player and Ratchet and Clank could dodge lightning, bullets, fire, and lasers, making them both faster than light in terms of speed. So if both characters were practically even in stats, why did Ratchet and Clank win? Well, there's just a few reasons. One being arsenal. Yeah, sadly while the player had a diverse arsenal of guns that could be enhanced with amps, and she could use some cool amps herself, they simply aren't enough to overpower Ratchet's massive arsenal. While both the player and Ratchet had similar sets of guns like rocket launchers, small turret robots, machine guns, and the such, Ratchet just had a few guns the player simply couldn't deal with, such as the Sheepinator that literally turns its victims into sheep, or, the Groovatron that forces its victims to dance. Those weapons are something the player cannot counter at all. Thus, if you were to throw down a Groovatron, it's pretty much game over. But if the deadly combination of the Groovatron and the fucking Sheepinator weren't enough, then Ratchet always has his Infernox armor, which gives him heavy resistance to all damage. It quite literally makes him take only 20% of the damage he would normally take. In those city level attacks the player would normally be dishing out would feel more like building level attacks to Ratchet. Finally, the biggest nail in the player's coffin is Clank's ability to manipulate time. Yeah, he could just freeze time and the player couldn't do anything about it. While she could theoretically use her fourth wall breaking powers to counter this, like she did at the end of the game to make a new ending, that still wouldn't give her the win, especially when Ratchet still has his armor and super OP and fucking hacksy as all shit guns. I should also say that while yes, the player has the ability to respawn and it shows she can do it in a million different ways, there's just one massive problem with that. It's a no-limits fallacy, and this fight would be unfair if we allowed that. So this fight would have to be the first kill, otherwise the player would win from outliving Ratchet, and that's just really unfair and stupid and makes this battle kind of pointless. So with the ability to freeze time, a suit that negates most damage, and a couple of weapons the player simply can't counter, Ratchet and Clank were more than ready for this fight. Looks like Ratchet sunset his guns to overdrive and took down the player. Our winners are Ratchet and Clank.
Combustor equipped.
Wicked.
The combustor is the backbone of the Ranger's arsenal, allowing you to hit targets in a short to medium range.
This is embarrassing.
Next time on Combo Breaker! Oh boy. Before I play this next time trailer, let me say that this is a rematch of one of my favorite episodes. And honestly, I really hope you guys are super excited for me to re-tackle this fight and do it better than I feel I did it last time. So without further ado, here's the next time trailer.
Take a swing, I can take a hit. If we die, it's fine, we live for this. It's all for this. We're gonna stand on top with our
Okay, so this is a rematch I've wanted to do for quite a while. Not only did I take the time to animate this fight, but I also redid all my research from the ground up for both characters. So I really hope you're excited for the rematch of Young Link versus Kid Goku. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on who you think will win, and have an absolute great day.